We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. Fort Lauderdale's National Stonewall Museum reenacted the 1969 riots with Marsha P. Johnson and Real Police to celebrate the journey of LGBTQ+ civil rights.
President Biden visited Stonewall this weekend for Pride Month to highlight the LGBTQ+ contributions and open the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center.
Gallup survey shows 69% of Americans support marriage equality, with Republican support dropping to 46% from 55%. It is the first decline in support in more than a decade.
Project 2025, a 900-page manifesto created by the Heritage Foundation, Radical GOP, and evangelicals, aims to create an authoritarian regime targeting LGBTQ+ rights on day one of the new conservative administration.
RuPaul's Drag Race contestants launched Drag Pack to defend the LGBTQ+ rights, to respond to anti-LGBTQ+ legislation, and promote voter engagement.
Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We're proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, and we've had more than 9 million views. It's Monday, July 1st, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in the LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it. Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ+ community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our queer culture, the Black community, Latino, lesbians and queer women, trans, students, youth, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Well, let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome Jacqueline Lorber, CEO-President of South Florida Symphony Orchestra. She's a dynamic entrepreneur known for her results-driven leadership. With a track record of raising $40 million+ for nonprofits, she was honored at the Outshine Film Festival for her impactful contributions to the arts. Jacqueline, the South Florida Symphony Orchestra, is back with concerts in Fort Lauderdale. Summer Concert 3, the Passion of Youth concert, is scheduled for July 25th and 26th. So tell me, what's happening?
Well, I have to say the chamber music are just a wonderful opportunity in the summertime to get together with everybody and have a great time, where we are at the Center for Spiritual Living in Fort Lauderdale, as well as Coral Gables earlier in May and June, and this month we'll be at Temple Israel of Greater Miami.
Excellent. Next, let's meet Vaughn Biggs, Broward County HIV Health Services Planning Council's Vice Chair and Disruptive Advocate, challenging outdated perceptions and fighting for HIV/AIDS rights. As Holy Cross Health's Community Outreach Coordinator, Vaughn smashes stigma through innovative campaigns and social media. Welcome, Vaughn.
Thank you very much for having me tonight.
All right, let's welcome Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago, not college, LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 2 short story collections and 7 books of poetry. He's an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, Gregg.
I'm happy to be here, and speaking of celebrity interviews, my new interview with the one and only Lainey Kazan is available to read online in South Florida at outsfl.com. And of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, David Hopkins. David is the vice president of the Lambda Men's Brotherhood, a local charity group that raises funds within the leather community. He's also the senior travel coordinator for Happening Out Travel, Hotspots Happening Out's nonprofit travel department. Welcome, David.
Thank you. And we have lots of trips coming up to raise funds for different organizations. One of the big ones is going to be a Smart Ride reunion at sea, since the Smart Ride ended last year at 20 years. It's November 9th. You can book online at happeningout.travel/smartride. So we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for Monday, July 1st, 2024. First this evening, let's queer up LGBTQ+ civil rights. Marsha P. Johnson was arrested live at Stonewall Inn, and it was not 1969, it was yesterday.
Night after night after night until police oppression has stopped in New York City. Yes! Yes! Now in the bar and on the streets, our trans community has been leading this fight with all of us. Yes! So let's hear something from Marsha P. Johnson.
Yes! We want our gay rights and we want them now. Especially for the women. And hell hath no fury like a drag queen scorn. Our street. Our street. Whose street? Our street. Whose street? Our street. There you go. Gay power! Now let's tell these pigs they can't come up in our community and beat us up anymore. We're gonna kick the cops' ass this time. Fuck the police! The police!
So, with all the cars that are burning, with all the trash that's burning, we have Christopher Street. Tomorrow we take 7th Avenue, and the day after that, we go all the way to 14th Street. The subway is ours. This is our city, this is our home, and the village belongs to us. 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 So the village belongs to us. Night after night until we're victorious, until these terrible laws are repealed, until there are more LGBTQ police than straight police, we will be on the streets. So, y'all got your bricks. Let's show them who's boss. But don't hit each other with them. Let's throw them where they'll do the most damage.
Legend says that drag and trans activist Marsha P. Johnson may have thrown the first brick or shot glass to launch the riots in New York at the Stonewall Inn on June 28, 1969. But she was never arrested until this Stonewall Pride Weekend 2024. The National Stonewall Museum in Fort Lauderdale reenacted the riot, and it included actual South Florida police departments, an electrified gay protest crowd complete with Marsha P. Johnson. Stonewall Museum marked the 1969 event by converting the museum into the actual Stonewall Inn. During the reenactment, police entered the museum to hassle and arrest bar participants, including Marsha P. Johnson. At the event, hundreds gathered to protest the police harassment and arrests, chanting "Our Village, Our Streets" and more. The event was a dramatic illustration of what happened to launch a worldwide civil rights movement. This is believed to be the first reenactment in history of the Stonewall riots led by Marsha P. Johnson. A critical component was the reenactment was the actual police presence. Police departments from 6 South Florida communities, including Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Hialeah, Davie, North Miami, and Homestead, had police cars and officers present during the raid, arrests, and protests. A highlight was a conversation between Queer News Tonight anchor Al Ferguson and Fort Lauderdale's Mayor Dean Tarantalis and Fort Lauderdale's Police Chief Bill Schultz. The reenactment took on emotional meaning as both the mayor and police chief are members of the LGBTQ+ community. The entire reenactment was led by Stonewall Museum Executive Director Robert Keston. Ferguson asked Gay Police Chief Schultz about the irony of Stonewall riots reenactment with a gay police chief present. Captain Schultz said, quote, "It's not really. It was shameful that it took NYPD so long to apologize for Stonewall, but they finally got there. Today, it's completely different for the LGBTQ community. When I started in this department, there was no support for LGBTQ. Today, it's completely different," end quote. So the whole thing about Stonewall that I love is it is a legend. The historical facts have gotten so muddled. Marsha P. Johnson herself said she was not there during the initial arrests. She didn't show up till afterwards, and she did help lead the protests. It's believed that Stormy Delaverre, the drag king and lesbian, was the one who actually started the resistance against the police. But the passion that has been fueled over the years by these legends, because sometimes, the tall tales walk further kind of thing.
Right. Well, stories that are passed down do tend to have some editing and some exaggeration. And I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to attend this event, but it is incredible how far a community has come in 55 years. Right. This is the 55th anniversary, and having Bill Schultz as a member of the LGBTQ+ community, as the police chief here in Fort Lauderdale, and in addition to having the gay mayor, Dean Tarantalis. So we've come a long way, baby.
I think it's great that we are able to reenact something for our youth, because this happened so many years ago that they're not going to really know the history behind it. Even if there is some storytelling or exaggeration of facts, it's a matter of that they can relive this history to understand what people before us have fought for.
I remember going to New York and standing in front of the location, watching the Gay Pride, which was as far as your eye could see, people that were, in our community, and it was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Next, let's queer up gay culture. President Biden says LGBTQ community set an example for the world at NYC Stonewall 56. In a historic event celebrating Pride Month, President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Bill Biden visited Stonewall in the New York City last Friday this week. They attended the grand opening of the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center. Biden became the first sitting president to visit the birthplace of the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. Commemorating the 55th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, reflecting on his earlier visit as a private citizen in 2019, Biden emphasized Stonewall's role in advancing civil rights in America, addressing the LGBTQ+ community. He praised the impact of the community has had on American society, recognizing the courage and contributions of the LGBTQ+ individuals. He said, quote, "You marked a turning point in civil rights in America. Your courage and contributions enrich every part of the American life. You set an example for the entire world," end quote. Biden also addressed the transgender community, saying, quote, "Stonewall remains a symbol of the legacy of leadership in the LGBTQ+ community, especially trans women of color," end quote. The event also featured Elton John, a renowned singer and LGBTQ+ rights advocate who used the platform to address the community's ongoing challenges. Following the opening, the Bidens attended the 25th Annual LGBTQ+ Leadership Council Gala in New York City, supporting initiatives that promote equality and inclusion. I'm happy that they were able to go out and support this in so many ways. He has a story from obviously as a citizen and visiting this and seeing where, all of our rights have come from and what's developed in our country's history over so many years. So I just think it's great that he's there. I would love to see them do more.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Stonewall 25, which I went to that many years ago in New York. I don't really recall President Bill Clinton being there. And you can be sure Felonious Drumpf wasn't there at Stonewall's 50th. So thank you from the bottom of my and our queer hearts, President Biden, for your words and for being there.
I am kind of shocked that he was the first president to visit Stonewall, because we have had supportive presidents in the past. But it just shows, people will criticize President Biden, but he does what he can for all the people, even ones he may not identify with or agree with. And this is fantastic.
It's not easy to stand up in the face of everything that he faces and be able to take a stand. So hats off.
Absolutely. Next, let's queer up the USA view. For the first time since Obergefell, there has been a decline in support of marriage equality. The gap between the Republican Party and the broader United States on LGBTQ plus rights continues to widen. According to a recent Gallup survey, more than 2/3 of Americans, 69%, support marriage equality, although this represents a slight decline from the record high 71% seen in 2022 and 2023. Democrats overwhelmingly support marriage equality, with 83% in favor, while 74% of independents also express support. In contrast, Republican support has dropped to 46%, a significant decrease from 55% in 2021 and 2022. The report highlights a recent stagnancy, if not decline, in support for LGBTQ plus rights in the past 2 years. While it doesn't pinpoint the cause of the shift, it coincides with the surge in anti-LGBTQ plus legislation nationwide. In 2023, more than 550 bills targeting LGBTQ plus rights were introduced, with 80 enacted into law. By mid-2024, 523 bills have been introduced, resulting in 39 laws passed. The report highlighted that younger Americans consistently show greater support for legal same-sex marriage and views same-sex relations as morally acceptable. It also suggests the public support will grow in the coming decades if younger adults and new generations maintain these higher levels of support. In other words, once the geezers are gone, then I suppose that's better. But we have so many deplorable and loathsome people to thank for this, including sexual predator and felon Trump, our very own governor death sentence and his broodmare KC, and new inmate Steve Gin Blossoms Bannon. Good luck with those DTs, Bannon, as well as the Hateful Heritage Foundation and those doing their bidding. We have said it before on this show. We will say it again. Vote in November as if your life depended on it, because it does.
And I do want to point out, I think it's very important to notice that 523 bills just this year. However, over 470 of them were shot down. The will of the people is still generally on our side. And even this, Republicans have become a very vocal minority, and they're scaring off the independents. They're scaring off the moderate community, which is most of our country. And the rhetoric is so based in lies and fear, and people are recognizing that, except for the people who thrive off of it.
And people don't realize I am a person who was straight married, and I am a person who is gay married. I am still the same person. There's nothing different about me except for who I am married to today versus yesterday. And that's a fact. So, people that have these things that they make up the story and they believe it in their head about what that means, it's irrelevant to who you are as a human being in life and your commitment to your community, how you operate every day, how you conduct yourself as an individual. I'm honored in the business community, I'm honored in the gay community, I'm honored for different things that I've created, and it doesn't change for 1 minute who I am as a human being.
I saw a fantastic meme today. It said, the best way to fight gay marriage is if a gay person asks you to marry them, tell them no. So next, let's queer up social justice. Will Project 2025 be the beginning of the end of LGBTQ plus America as we know it? Here's yet another reason why there's so much fear in the election of Donald Trump. Project 2025. According to reports by Accountable US, the project is a radical agenda aimed at transforming the nation into an authoritarian regime, directly targeting LGBTQ+ rights, along with a host of other policies aimed at people of color, women's rights, and more. The brainchild of Religious-Inspired Heritage Foundation, Project 2025 proposes sweeping changes, including the dismissal of up to 50,000 federal employees deemed disloyal to the president, so they can be replaced with loyalists. It advocates for severe restrictions on access to contraception, potentially imposing a national ban on abortion, and slashing federal health care programs. These measures are designed to consolidate power and enforce ideological conformity. The 920-page manifesto was ominous when they outlined their mission statement on page 1. They said, quote, "It's not enough for conservatives to win elections. If we're going to rescue the country from the grip of the radical left, we need both a governing agenda and the right people in place, ready to carry this agenda out on day one of the next conservative administration. This is the goal of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project. The project will build on 4 pillars that will collectively pave the way for an effective conservative administration," end quote. Of grave concern to the LGBTQ+ community, Project 2025 calls for the reversal of protections established by the landmark 2020 Supreme Court decision in Bostock versus Clayton County, which recognized workplace discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity as illegal under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Project 2025 also advocates for barring transgender individuals from military service and aims to combat what it terms the normalization of transgenderism within government and society. It demands the defense of First Amendment rights for those who discriminate against LGBTQ+ individuals, especially on the basis of religion. On the international front, Project 2025 proposes dismantling U.S. Agency for International Development programs promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion by branding them as part of a, quote, bullying LGBTQ+ agenda, end quote. The Project 2025 has been criticized as being a blueprint of white male evangelicals and their goal to return America to some fictional time. This plan is full of similar goals against Black, Latino, and immigrants, women's choice and leadership, and much, much more. As the political landscape evolves, Project 2025 stands as a stark reminder of the potential ramifications of a conservative presidency. The plan ends saying they will be ready on January 20th, 2025, Inauguration Day. The LGBTQ+ community should take the threat seriously. This is not the Republican Party. They are trying to throw our government away and build a fake theocratic government. Our government, our First Amendment specifically says Congress shall respect no establishment of religion. We are not a government based in God. The phrase "in God we trust" was not added until 50s. Our national motto that I live by is "E pluribus unum," from many, there's one. They are trying to overthrow us and turn us into another China or another North Korea, where you worship a demagogue and no one has personal rights. And that's not what the Republican Party stands for, or at least used to.
Well, you know, if you go to their website, these words are on the website. Look it up, Project 2025. Proudly there. It's a manifesto. Every single word is to undo where we have gotten to. And it is really something I'm personally, on my private hat, putting on and sharing as much as possible because people are not aware of it. But it is scary. It is a manifesto. It's designed to undo every single stride that we've made.
I mean, the real question is, how do we save the country from the grip of the radical right? Their brazen disdain for women, LGBTQ+, any others that they consider consider too far left for their unapologetically Christian nationalist rhetoric. It's the kind of thing that causes me to lose sleep, and it should keep all of us awake at night working on ways to prevent it from happening.
I find it very interesting. This is something that just didn't appear, right?
No.
This is something they've been working on, right?
Years in the making.
Years in the making, which means all along they've been like, hey, look over here, while they've been working on this.
Listen, I said it when Bannon left the White House. He's not just going away. He's out there doing the work underground. And now it's not underground. Somebody tells you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
They're showing you proudly.
And I have family in Maine who are Republicans, but it's funny because Yankee Republicans follow the more traditional personal freedoms, personal rights. The Republican Party, even if you look at Olympia Snowe, Suzanne Collins, the senators who have come from Maine, very socially liberal. They believe in fiscal conservatism, but they're not these theocrats. It's like somebody took The Handmaid's Tale, instead of seeing it as a cautionary tale, took it as a guidebook.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Fiction. It's fiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Next up, let's queer drag culture. Former RuPaul's Drag Race contestants launched Drag Pack to protect LGBTQ plus rights. Several former RuPaul's Drag Race contestants have joined forces to establish Drag Pack, a political action committee aimed at defending the LGBTQ plus rights through democratic action in 2024. The initiative, announced via YouTube, features Alaska, Jinx Monsoon, Ben de la Creme, Peppermint, and Monet Exchange as founding members. The group's formation comes in response to a surge in anti-LGBTQ plus legislation across the country, including measures targeting drag performances. Drag Pack intends to combat this trend by focusing on voter registration and mobilization. They aim to engage the 80 million registered voters who abstained in the 2020 election. Highlighting the urgency, the PAC points out that 6 Republican-led states have already passed laws restricting drag performances, though many have faced legal challenges. This is not the first effort taken by the drag community in support of LGBTQ plus rights. Recently, Drag Race stars like Jiggly Caliente, Brigitte Bandit, and Joey J also visited the House of Representatives to advocate for increased LGBTQ plus protections.
Camera's rolling.
Okay. Drag.
How did it start?
Well, I think everyone is a little disheartened with a lot of our elected leadership, and frankly, our community is being assaulted, and it's escalating to violence.
There is just so much anti-drag, anti-trans legislation coming from these lawmakers, and these are people who know nothing about us.
We're just sick of being lied to.
We're in the middle of something historic, okay? This is the most important election cycle for queer people's rights and freedoms in our lifetime.
And we represent our community. We're visible queer people out in the world in the crosshairs.
I think it's time we remind people who we are.
I think Monet and I were talking about some bigoted idiot.
Oh, Alaska asked me.
I don't know who called me. I think it was Peppermint.
And we got pissed off.
So we got together and formed Drag Pack.
The first political action committee led by world famous drag queens.
And we are here to make fucking waves. A big blue ass wave.
Après moi, le déluge.
If you can support your local and favorite drag queens by commenting on their social media and their content, then you can go to the polls and vote. Every single vote counts, y'all. And if you're not casting yours, then you're just letting someone else snatch the crown.
Yeah. Did you know that there were
80 million people
eligible to vote who did not vote in the last election?
How you vote matters, and it literally defines the future of not just the country, but your cities, your communities, and your people.
You've got to join us too.
Oh, and I promise you, it is fierce and fabulous over here.
Our diversity is what drives democracy.
We are Drag Pack.
Drag Pack.
We are Drag Pack.
And the future
Will be fabulous.
I am so excited because I feel like even though how much we hated our previous presidency, he was the author of hate speech, so to speak, and our community has taken that hate and has turned it into something very powerful, and I celebrate them so much for this.
Really brava to the drag community for stepping up, and I'm hoping, as you're saying, maybe now others will take notice and they will take action before it's too late.
You'd be surprised how deep of a wide net of people that they have in their community, and having just been honored with others at the event that was at Galleria celebrating the 100-year retrospective, we had people that were from the community there and people supporting them from all walks of life. It's a very powerful group, and they deserve to be listened to. And
this is part of a effort from the right wing to stifle anything theater. Drag has been around for millennia. One of my favorite drag performances was Donald Trump walking through Macy's getting kissed by Rudy Giuliani, but that's a different story.
But doesn't Drag Race also have a very sizable straight female following? So maybe they will be able to reach them as well, and hopefully reach their spouses too.
Absolutely. Next, we're proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out Television Studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday Air National Service at 10:30 a.m. We finish tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News, let's queer up courts. Conservatives misuse Austin Wolf's child pornography charges to fuel anti-LGBTQ+ rhetoric. Austin Wolf, a well-known gay adult film star, faces serious charges after being accused of distributing and possessing child pornography. United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York announced his arrest on Friday. Wolf, 43, alleged used Telegram to share hundreds of videos depicting child sexual abuse. While this crime shook the LGBTQ+ community, conservatives decided to use this news to add fuel to their anti-LGBTQ+ rhetoric. On Sunday, the conservatives celebrated the arrest on social media, stating that this is evidence that all gays are groomers. Do I have a comment? No.
Pedophilia and homosexuality are two very different things.
Exactly.
Pedophiles come in there, and he is a disgusting, vile person who is going to go to jail for a long time and hopefully rot there.
And oh, how the indoctrinating conservatives love to misuse the word groomer. Here are a couple groomers. Oklahoma State Superintendent of Public Instruction Ryan Walters, who's going to have Bibles in public school classrooms, and Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry, who put up those 10 commandments. Those two douchebags are groomers.
Well, LGBTQ+ 1 Minute News, let's queer up politics. DeSantis criticizes arts funding and calls Fringe Festival sexual. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has caused another stir in the LGBTQ community by vetoing over $32 million in arts funding. His decision dealt a severe blow to LGBTQ+ organizations, including the South Florida Symphony Orchestra, the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, the Stonewall National Museum, South Florida Pride Band, Plays of Wilton, and more. Our Fund Foundation is a leading LGBTQ philanthropic organization that supports numerous arts and cultural nonprofits in South Florida, and they've started a campaign to help fill some of the grant hole that was created by Governor DeSantis, by the governor. DeSantis justified his decision last week in a press conference. He focused on Tampa's Fringe Festival. He said, quote, "You have your tax dollars being given in grants to things like Fringe Festival, which is like a sexual festival where they're doing all this stuff," end quote. This is ridiculous. It is an attack on the arts because the arts are how you share your hopes, your dreams, your thoughts, and they don't want that. If you're not listening to what they say and thinking how they want to think, they don't want involved. The drag bands are related to this. It's all the same kind of attack.
Well, we're directly affected by this in a very big way, and I want to paint a kind of a picture for everybody here tonight. The first thing is that when we go through the process of the grant, it goes back months and months and months. There's applications that are sent. Everybody sends in their proposals. 663 organizations in the state of Florida are affected by this. Wow. Whim of pushing a pen against everybody with this veto. There's $32 million worth of funding. We are plan every single season with $150,000 in our budget. Why? Because we're at the maximum level of funding based on our budget size. And it is the only restricted source of funding that we have to do the education program we do in the Keys, in Miami, the community outreach programs that is not restricted. So there's restricted funds, unrestricted funds. With the state, we use it to fill those needs where other things are not covered by grants. The process is then scored. And in this case, it was through the appointees that he had that approved the final allocations that went in. From $150,000, it was set down to $70,000, $500 for us and all the groups our size. We go about trying to fill the gap, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before the fiscal year starts for us, which is today, we're told zero. Oh. And so where do you go to just fill that kind of a goal? For us and 663 organizations. Do you have any idea how many jobs? Let me tell you something. When that man gets up in front of a camera like we are tonight, guess what that is, folks? The arts. Who puts your makeup on? The makeup artist. The little campaign that you send out for your election, guess who designs it? The graphic designer. Who prints it? People that are trained in the arts. The reality factor of what the arts is in the state of Florida and how it translates into the actual productions of shows. And for us, how many venues are we in? We're at the Partner in the Arts at the Parker. We are the collaborative partner at the Broward Center. We are at the New World Center, the first organization to ever have been invited to have a full season there. The Tennessee Williams, and on, all of the different locations we use, they're all impacted by this. And it is a very big problem for us, and I never say just for the symphony, I say for everyone. And I applaud our fund for gathering their particular group of people, but we're not in it. We're gay. We happen to run the organization, but we're not a gay symphony, so we're not part of that funding stream. And people really need to understand specifically funding the groups that they're interested in, because the good of the many, we all rise together.
Absolutely.
And Republicans need to realize that the arts are vital for the economy in general. South Florida specifically, but Florida in general, is a huge tourism economy greatly run by the arts. You get things like Ultra Music Festival would be considered, even though it's a privately run, not nonprofit, but people come here for theater. They come here for concerts. They come here for shows that we offer because there's so much to do and see down here, and that's going to hurt tourism, which is going to hurt everybody, all the business owners.
I have to throw in that the state's own study on economic impact of for every dollar that's in the arts has a $9 impact. So we're talking about it's $1 billion of impact for the state of Florida overall. And nobody could figure out why. Well, the answer is from this event that's happening, the Fringe event, out of a whole week or 10 days or whatever it is of this festival, there's one event. They were entitled to $7,000 on their budget, $7,000 on their budget. And he nixed everything. If you want to nix something, just nix that one show. Don't nix everybody else. 663 organizations affected, $32 million across the board is irreplaceable in the state of Florida overnight, and that's what happened.
Well, and this is his revenge. This is little Donald Trump. This is retribution because nobody wants him to be president. Nobody wants you to be anything.
I think that he wants to deliver an under budget scenario and speak to the conservative population that he serves. And believe me, we have people in the South Florida audience, and I'm talking about all the arts and culture groups that are conservative. And we're good. Everybody is friends. Everybody's in the same boat together. But none of them are happy about the fact that this has happened to the organizations
because the
they
arts
love and care
are for
about.
everybody.
Of course.
It's for everyone.
Of course.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the USA view. Karlheinz Weinberger exhibit captures timeless hunks. We are showing you a sneak peek of an amazing art collection. Hunks have always been timeless, and the ongoing Karlheinz Weinberger Outsiders Within exhibit at San Francisco's Bob Mizer Foundation Gallery proves it with stunning photographs. The exhibit is open until August 31st. The images are a cultural and artistic expression important to LGBTQ+ community to show the positivity of our community. More details are available at bobmizer.org. Castrated Florida Governor Ron DeSantis hate this exhibit. He'd be like, oh, sexual, oh my God. My wife has my balls in her purse, oh my God. And that's why I love this exhibit.
There's a lot of art in these photographs, and it reminds me of the old pulp pinups, which as a gay man, I'm not sexually attracted to. I love those photographs, the style, the posing, and I kind of want that leopard print Speedo that guy was wearing now.
Hello, I got you covered.
There you go. It's amazing. The human body has been studied for centuries, by masters, and it should be something that's celebrated, and this is, and I can't wait to go see it. All right, LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. One magical weekend and Bear Jamboree moved off traditional Gay Days date for DC World Pride. In honor of Worldwide 2025 in Washington, DC, the One Magical Weekend and Orlando Bears Pride's Bear Jamboree will move their event to May 29th, 2025 and run through June 2nd. The world's largest LGBTQ plus travel event held in Orlando the first Saturday weekend in June is dramatically changed by this news. The celebration at Walt Disney World resorts will include Riptide at Typhoon Lagoon, Red at House of Blues, Pride Ball, Therapy and Bear Jam pool parties, and Cadabra After Hours, making it as one of the largest LGBTQ plus pride and music festivals globally. Gay Days and Girls in Wonderland will continue June 5th through the 9th, 2025. 2 weekends of queerdom. How wonderful. Take that, DeSantis.
Well, and who can possibly compete with World Pride? Dare we say if it happens? Because wasn't it supposed to happen here a couple of years ago and it didn't?
Well, we put in for it, but we didn't have the infrastructure, I don't believe.
Well, let's hope it happens. If it happens.
This is exciting for me for a couple of reasons. First of all, Hotspots Happening Out is the media sponsor of One Magical Weekend and Gay Days. Gay Days has over 30 years of history. It started as an employee protest at Disney for gay rights. One Magical Weekend is a fantastic weekend of parties. And also HappeningOut.travel does have a trip to World Pride. You can book it at HappeningOut.travel/World Pride.
Self-serving.
But it's a charity fundraiser too. So. Yeah. All right, LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up the worldview. Hong Kong couples exchange vows online with Utah officiant. 10 same-sex couples from Hong Kong married over the internet with a Utah officiant, marking Pride Month. Despite same-sex marriage not being in Hong Kong or China, family members gathered in Kuala Long's hotel wedding hall, witnessing the couples exchange rings and toast their new beginnings. Most states require couples to appear in person to complete paperwork and present identification, but Utah's digital application process does not require in-person appearances. This has made it a popular choice for online weddings since the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't see why somebody has to be present for a wedding. If all the legality is there, if you can submit it online, that's perfectly fine. And I do have to applaud Utah, which, as the Mormon Church is slowly moving into modern times with their social views, the government is actually outpacing them quite a bit. Utah's become extremely gay-friendly, and things like this just show that the state's starting to embrace everybody, which I love.
You go, Utah.
Yes.
If you're able to do it and you're showing up on the camera or whatever, it's really, we accept that for everything else, every kind of meeting that we have.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right. And that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community and the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That's the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television, and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, David Hopkins, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Jacqueline Lorber, Vaughn Biggs, and Gregg Shapiro, we want you to go vote, donate to your local nonprofits, and then we'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you a good night.
Good night.
Good night.